Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are on Sanan's route, finally past the common route, and we're also just past the point where Kondo had gotten shot, and Heisuke is a fury now and all that stuff. So let's continue on. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story.
We still haven't figured out who attacked the chief? I bet you anything it's those bastards from that Satsuma Chochu alliance.
Ever since the attack on Kondo, the atmosphere at the Fushimi Magistrate's office has been tense to say the least. I felt it increase as I stepped into the meeting room, carrying tea for the captains. Here's your tea.
Oh, thanks. Could you leave it here?
I seemed to have walked in on a serious discussion. All around the room were tense, drawn faces.
So, what's your plan? The Satsuma Chochu alliance wants power in the court, but they're also hoping the Emperor grants them all the shogunate's assets and holdings. There's no other way to look at it. They're trying to start a war. It would be smart to start preparing for one.
You have a point. They've been sucking up to the Emperor, and they come and go at the palace like they own the place. Now so far as preparing for war.
Sanan has been pushing hard to augment the Fury Corps.
A memory of the other day came back to me. Sanan offered the water of life to all the captains, and they accepted it.
I'm against that. This is war, not subduing odd Ronin. There are going to be enemies and allies everywhere in battle. I don't think we'll be able to control them. They're powerful, but it's too risky.
Agreed. Besides, it's inhumane.
Then, what do you suggest? If you wish to disapprove, you should offer an alternate path.
We're working on that. If it was so easy to come up with a solution, you really think we'd be in this mess? What's your take on this, Commander?
Hijikata furrowed his brow and frowned.
Let me think about it. We need to see what the Satsuma and Choshi are going to do, and we have to consider what the shogunate wants.
Kondo's injury had put everyone on edge, especially with the war inching closer day by day. What was going to become of the Shinsengumi, as well as the Fury Corps? December 20th, 1867. It was decided that Kondo and Okita were to be moved to Osaka, where Dr. Matsumoto was. Kondo had required serious surgery and treatment, while Okita needed to treat his tuberculosis. Considering Okita's strength had diminished greatly, even I could see his disease was worsening. Of all illnesses, it had to be tuberculosis. The departure of these two leaders brought solemnity and sadness to us all. Oh, my dear Okita. January 1868. It never stops being sad no matter how many times I go through different routes. The date was January 3rd, 1868. The shogunate armies and the Satsuma Chochu armies met at Toba Fushimi to fight in war. The shogunate army was over 15,000 strong, while the Satsuma Chochu only had 5,000 men. With a clear advantage in numbers, the shogunate army was able to make quick work of the enemies in Toba. Then, thinking they could win in Kyoto too, the Shinsengumi should have been there beside them as well. However, despite their early victory in Toba, the battles became increasingly frustrating for the shogunate, eventually reaching a stalemate. What the shogunate hadn't accounted for was the advanced weaponry of the enemies. Their artillery made close combat nearly impossible. Even with the numbers, the constant gunfire and cannon fire subdued the shogunate men handily. Although the shogunate and Shinsengumi men had guns as well, the range and accuracy of the newfound technology was too much for them. What ended up happening was, the Shinsengumi was resigned to using the same attack formations with swords and spears that they had the most experience in. Saito, Harada, and Nagakura all led their men from the front lines, but all that came from their battles were casualties. However, there was one troop amongst them that suffered no casualties, winning each battle. I can guess who that is. It was the Fury Corps, led by Sanan and Heisuke. The Fury Corps acted at night, and they were protected under the jurisdiction of the Fushimi Magistrate, leading night raids in enemy territory. More often than not, the Fury Corps would return covered in blood of their enemies. Tonight was no different.
I'm home.
Welcome back, Keisuke. You're back really early for today.
Yeah, about that. Some stuff happened.
Oh boy. Keisuke seemed uninterested in talking about it, so he attempted to change the subject. So, was it bad?
Well, telling you won't do much. I guess this is what war's all about.
He sighed, slouching his shoulders and hanging his head low. It didn't seem like Keisuke to be so sulky, but it seems like everyone's entitled to days like these. I mean, I guess I can hear you out at least. Did you want to try and talk about it? It may make you feel better. At first he was reluctant to entertain my suggestion, then he began to open up.
Well, Sanan's kind of a hard ass. Or rather, maybe he's kind of taken it too far. We're Furies, so it's super easy for us to just charge through soldiers into enemy territory. Technically, all we gotta do is break their cannons or guns, and then we light them up so they can't be used anymore. I thought that'd be enough, but Sanan started barking at us to kill all these people. He also started telling us to kill anyone in the area who was armed. I couldn't really stomach it, so I kinda skipped out early.
When Keisuke had finished recounting the battle, he let out a sigh as he rubbed his temples. If they're doing that well, I don't see how the Shinsengumi couldn't have beat them.
Sorry, talking about it's gonna make me think about it even more. I'm gonna call it a day.
Keisuke. He forced a smile as he said goodbye, and he walked past me without a second look. If Keisuke were the one to think it was all too much, then I believe him. But I wonder what would compel Sanan to do such a thing. I wondered to myself if I should let Hijikata know what Sanan had told me. You mean what Keisuke told you? I mean, I was sure though that Hijikata was up to date on whatever the Fury Corps was up to. Actually, was it possible that these orders were coming right from Hijikata himself? Or perhaps from the Shogunate? It is a war we're fighting, so I wanted to give Sanan the benefit of the doubt. Also, Sanan surely had his own reasons, even if it wasn't coming from someone else. All I could wish was for everyone to be safe. Just then.
Who's there?
Oh, you're a mess, baby.
Oh, it's you, Yukimura. Why are you awake at this hour? Are you having trouble getting to bed?
Oh. The shock of seeing him left me at a loss for words as he'd suddenly appeared in front of me. The white fabric of his uniform was coated in a dried bloody mess, congealed and covering him, even up to his mouth. Oh, I was just thinking about things, and I guess I lost track of time.
It is practically dawn, and you should be getting as much rest as you can. We Furies will be turning in for the night soon as well.
It was so bizarre that Sanan could carry a normal conversation despite his horrific appearance. Other warriors returning from the battlefield this afternoon had nowhere near the amount of blood on them. I guess Sanan's a really prolific killer on the battlefield. And upon seeing Sanan, I couldn't shake Keisuke's story, so I spoke up out of dire need for answers. Sanan? What's with all the blood?
Oh, this? I didn't even notice. It looks like normal blood spatter to me. Toto disappeared tonight, so perhaps it was because I had to pick up his slack.
Sanan's reply was nonchalant, as if the amount of blood on him was nothing out of the ordinary. But I wanted to know what was really going on. So I asked for a reason. I'm not about to reproach him. I'm not his mother. I heard from Keisuke that you're murdering people. A lot of people, Sanan. That's why you're all covered in blood, right? But you did so because you had a good reason behind it, right? Sanan chuckled in response, and after wiping his mouth, he began to answer.
It sounds like I worried you. I believe you have heard the reports of how our soldiers have performed during the day, yes? How our men can't seem to break through the enemy lines. Well, the only group capable of doing so with regularity is ours, the Fury Corps. At long last, our powers are finally required. This is a tremendous opportunity for us to showcase what makes us so special. There is truly nothing better than this. So, we remain true to our cause, perhaps a tad more than necessary. One can never be too careful.
Yeah, honestly, tactically, as far as this goes, it is better for him to be decimating the enemy as much as possible, especially if they're having that much trouble during the day. The calmness in Sanan's answer made him seem so rational that it almost justified his methods. If a warrior had the capacity to fight with more strength and power on the battlefield, then it's only natural to take advantage of it. But even then, knowing the loaded situation with the Furies, I still couldn't shake the bad feelings. Sanan, are you really feeling alright?
Yes, I feel great.
What I'd really wanted to ask was, don't you think it's a little strange for you to be covered in so much blood? But I couldn't get myself to ask him that.
If that is all, then I shall be on my way.
Sanan smiled politely, and he walked off briskly. All I could do was watch as he left silently. I truly want to believe that Sanan was acting with the best of intentions out of pride. But I knew there was a chance Sanan was simply murdering out of animalistic impulse. I just couldn't really convince myself otherwise. For whatever it was worth, though, I hated myself for looking at Sanan this way. This is war. There might have been nothing else that Sanan could do to justify his methods, let alone his existence. I suppose that I was beginning to realize what it really meant to be a part of the Shinsengumi. Or at least, that's what I'd hoped. Shaking the anxiety away was proving difficult. If Sanan's murderous tendencies were the side effect of becoming a Fury, what if he couldn't really subdue the feelings from the bloodlust after all? What if, in fact, he were being driven by it, instead of overcoming it like he told us he did? The burden of these possibilities started eating away at me. As the morning came, I'd awoken with the same stress. With the dawn came the sun, and with the sun came the sounds of cannon fire. However, it seemed as though the attack planned by the Fury Corps turned out to be successful. The Shinsengumi were able to attack an enemy encampment, and although many of our men were injured, we were able to do them some damage. Nagakura attempted to rile his men into action.
Hey, men, why the long face? The enemy's base is just right there. We're gonna blast through them this time, so everyone follow me.
His attempts to cheer the men roused their spirits a bit, and he charged to the front of the line. When afternoon passed, one of the enemy cannons was pointed at our headquarters, with one of the cannonballs smashing right into it. Cannons pounded the Fushimi Magistrate's office, and the ground shook with each impact. I was treating injured warriors in our infirmary, and all the captains gathered in the next room.
So the opposing forces had some issues this morning with their artillery, but they're right back at it. Hijikata, we can't keep this up. At this rate, the Magistrate's just going to be a sitting duck. I had heard the Fury Corps was successful in their sabotage raid last night, but it appears they were able to repair and resume operation as usual this afternoon. Currently, we are experiencing difficulty reaching anywhere near the enemy encampments. Then Jinpachi will be...
Hijikata bit his lip to the point that his face went pale, and he stood quietly. Go save him! The sounds of cannon fire continued to echo in the background. Everyone expected Nagakura not to return. Then, out of nowhere...
Yo, guys. Why is everyone looking like someone died? I just got back.
Shinpachi!
Everyone was bewildered to see Nagakura. Yeah, he's tough to kill.
Man, you really had me worried there. I hear the situation's pretty bleak out there.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Nagakura was covered in dust, dirt, and blood. Then he wiped his face with the back of his hand.
Well, there's no way we're getting back into that enemy camp for the time being. I mean, if you're down to lose all your men, then sure, we can go for it. Commander, there's nothing else we can do. Please order the retreat.
His brow furrowed, and he scowled furiously.
Whoa, what's this? Where's the smoke coming from?
The cannon must have set the building on fire. We need to get out of here or we're dead. Hijikata, we have to retreat.
Even Nagakura's pleas seemed to fall on deaf ears.
Toshi.
Until this moment, the Shinsengumi had never known defeat in battle, but they were helpless against the firearms of the Satsuma and Choshu. The Shinsengumi was Hijikata's life. Defeat was hard to accept. After what seemed like an eternity, he let out a long, ragged sigh.
I guess this is the end. Nobody can win a war with swords and spears anymore.
His knuckles turned white. There were several more minutes of tense, breathless silence before he finally looked up, his eyes burning with fury.
We're pulling back. But we haven't lost. They'll pay for this.
Fury wasn't the only thing in those eyes. Behind them I could see a bitter, desperate agony. Afterwards, it was decided we would leave for Kyoto Castle, who were our allies, and we were leaving the magistrate as it was catching fire.
We're under attack.
Damn it, who's doing it?
It seems like we were caught as we were leaving the magistrate. The Satsuma Choshu troops must have realized we were vulnerable, and they seized the opportunity to take over the magistrate.
Those uniforms is the Satsuma. We will hold them back. Yukimura, go on ahead. Gen, take good care of her.
What about Sanan? Where is he? But there are still wounded I need to tend to. Besides, Sanan and Heisuke, the Furies are still inside there. Inoue yanked my hand in his direction when I tried to pull toward the magistrate.
I am certain they will be safe. Have faith in them. Let's hurry. Now come with me.
Okay. I was so concerned about the wounded soldiers and the triage, but I needed to keep my faith in Sanan. Guilt washed over me as I ran away with Inoue pulling my arm.
Yukimura, this way. Hurry, hurry. If we go this way. Oh!
After we had been frantically sprinting down Fushimi's main road, Inoue stopped suddenly. My feet skidded as I came to a sudden halt as well, and warriors in enemies' uniforms appeared.
Hey, they're in Shinsengumi uniforms. You ain't going anywhere.
Yukimura, I will hold them. Make a run for it.
Inoue released my hand, and he reached for a sword at his waist. What? I couldn't do that! I'll fight beside you!
Don't be foolish. I was tasked with protecting you. So, you leave this to me.
What?
Hurry, to the alleyway. Head for Kyoto Castle.
Inoue pushed me into the alley. He unsheathed his sword in one majestic movement, and he charged toward the enemy. Oh, Inoue has a battle stance. I've never seen him like this.
I am Genzaburo Inoue, captain of the Shinsengumi 6th Division, on guard. Whoa!
As Inoue ran toward the troops, they calmly drew out their guns and got in a line. Oh.
Prepare your weapons. Fire!
Inoue! A row of rifles fired at once, their bullets ripping through Inoue before he fell to the ground. Inoue! Inoue! I yearned to jump out to him, but someone grabbed my hand from behind and stopped me. Who is this? Let go of me!
You mustn't go. Do you wish for his death to be in vain?
As my anger grew from this mysterious interruption, I turned around. You're Kaoru?
No, come with me. You should be able to reach the back entrance from here.
I was still in shock, but she grabbed my hand and led me as we walked down. Wait! Inoue is...
It's too late for him.
Her cold words pierced through me like a dagger. In the moment, I was forced to accept Inoue's death. After all, I saw what happened right before my eyes. Inoue was so kind, and he tried to let me escape. Just a few moments ago, he was pulling my hand. And that's when I snapped out of it. The person who's pulling my hand now is Kaoru. Why are you helping me right now? As she walked in front of me, I tried calling out to her for an explanation. Then she turned.
See, I was confused from the chaos as I was trying to escape from where the fighting was. But then, I'd seen you running from the magistrate. Ever since I first saw you, it felt like we weren't mere strangers. Perhaps because people said we looked alike. This must be fate. Trust me for now. Besides, the man from earlier wished for your safety above everything.
Her words filled me with a little bit of courage. Inoue had sacrificed himself so I could escape. So I have to honor his wishes. I tightly gripped Kaoru's hand and I nodded. I want to go to Kyoto Castle. Do you think you can show me the way? Kaoru nodded firmly, and we ran together, gripping each other's hands in the darkness. I wasn't sure how we'd found the strength to run.
This way now, hurry!
There were several close encounters with the enemy, but I grabbed a hold of Kaoru's hand and we ran.
Let's wait for those men to pass us by. Don't make a sound.
As she led me through a heavily wooded forest, we'd encountered a shrine. I stopped to glance around, looking at the incense resting on the staircase to confirm what I'd seen. Where are we? I thought we were heading for Kyoto Castle.
Kyoto Castle? What are you talking about?
Exactly where I asked you to guide me in the first place. Didn't I tell you I wanted to go to Kyoto Castle? Back then, she'd nodded firmly. I appreciated her help, but I couldn't think of why she'd bring me here. I watched her with a suspicious eye, and she grinned as if to play it off as a misunderstanding.
Huh, forget about that place. Someone here is waiting for you.
Huh?
All I was asked to do was take you here.
Out of the shadows emerged the figure of a man from the shrine's entrance.
Ah, it's been a long time, Chizuru. My, how beautiful you've become.
In front of me stood my father, for whom I've spent 4 years searching. Father? Is that really you?
Yes, child, it really is me. My apologies for waiting so long to contact you.
No, now that I've seen you, I'm just glad to see you're safe. But what are you doing here? Where were you all this time? Father's expression became glum. His eyes tenderly gazed into mine.
It was all my fault for not sending you a letter after all this time. You see, I was taken captive to some place far, far away.
Taken captive? The horrible image of someone taking my father as a prisoner made me flinch. But father continued on, describing his journey without going into great detail.
I have come looking for you. I was so worried. What if you were caught up in all this needless violence and someone were to hurt you?
Father.
So, I had Nagumo here help me, since I'd heard the two of you were acquainted.
Now I finally understood why Kaoru revealed nothing to me. I see. Kaoru, I wish you told me this from the beginning.
I couldn't help it. I just wanted to see how you'd react. Sorry.
Please don't be. Thank you for letting me see my father. I thanked Kaoru sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, before turning to face father. Now, father, let's go to Kyoto Castle. The Shinsengumi has men there, and I'm sure they'll keep us safe from the Satsuma Choshu troops. I think father has other ideas. In response, however, my father shook his head slowly.
Unfortunately, I have no intention of going to Kyoto Castle. Actually, you won't be going either.
Father? Weren't you out west because you were held captive by the Satsuma and Choshu? And now you're here because you escaped from them, right? Then why don't we go to the Shinsengumi?
It is true I was in the west. However, it would not entirely be accurate to say I've escaped. You see, I have been waiting for the opportune moment to retrieve you for quite some time now.
Oh, that sounds bad. Huh? What do you mean? Are you saying you've known I was in Kyoto this whole time?
Well, because you were residing with the Shinsengumi, contacting you proved difficult. Even if I so desired to take you from there, they were watching for me, so I could not do so. And as far as the war goes, I was simply waiting for you to leave the Shinsengumi this whole time.
Then why didn't you contact me sooner? You knew I was looking for you.
See, that is what I'm apologizing for, but it was all because I couldn't let them know about us.
Huh? What are you talking about? Are you talking about the serum?
Ah, so you have learned this from the Shinsengumi.
I know everything, Father. I know about your experiments with the water of life and the furies on the Shinsengumi. Wait, something felt off. Since everyone had already known about it in the Shinsengumi, it wasn't like he was even trying to keep it a secret. So, what was it then? What other secrets could he be hiding?
I heard you met Lord Kazuma as well.
How did he know who Kazuma was?
He gave me quite the scolding, that one, rambling on about why I hadn't mentioned to him how you were a demon.
Father, what did you just say?
You come from demon lineage, child. You're a demon. Forgive me once more. I was planning on keeping it all a secret until preparations were in order. I can probably guess how very confusing this must all sound to you at the moment. I mean, if the Shinsengumi were here to see me, That would be quite the predicament, eh? That is why this was all kept quiet. I shall share with you the details later. Now, come with me, child. Your father will be by your side from now on.
Father reached his hand for mine, but I could only stare at it. I just couldn't bring myself to grab it. My gut just wouldn't quit. Something felt off. Was this man really my father? I couldn't place exactly what seemed wrong to me, and I sort of froze in place, unable to move. Then, I'd forced myself to step backwards, and then a tingle crept down my back. I rushed to turn around when I saw him. Sanan! I see. This all makes sense to me now. Sanan, are you here to rescue me, or are you here to join my father? Sanan! Behind me stood Sanan. Although the day was coming to an end, the sun was still out, and Sanan smiled at me faintly before turning to speak with my father.
Ah, Sanan, was it? Long time no see.
It truly has been quite some time. However, please do not permit me to interrupt this reunion with your daughter.
Oh, don't mind us. With what's going on and all, it couldn't be helped really. But the sun is still out. Shouldn't you be going inside soon? It must be tough for a Fury, isn't it?
No need to worry for my sake. Contrary to what you may expect, we have been improved now. The subtle tension in their conversation grew as their forced politeness gave way to smarminess. They were observing one another. Carefully, I inched myself towards Sanan. Sanan, why did you come here? I thought I had sensed a little rat sniffing around the Fushimi Magistrate night after night, so I'd been keeping watch this whole time. And I figured I'd follow to see where the trail of crumbs would take me. As it goes, this investigation led me to many instances that required the spilling of blood. Then I'd suddenly recall the sight of Sanan being drenched in blood and gore. So, all the blood on your clothing. Let's just say, it was all in the interest of your protection. Oh, finally our first words of affection from Sanan. So Koto and that boy there with him, both of them were after you, Yukimura. Finally, I'd realized why I was struck with a feeling of unease as my father was speaking. Father, so all this time you knew about me, and you just watched? Wait, you said Kyoto is a boy? You said boy, but Kyoto is a girl. I looked at Sanan, thinking he made some mistake. You are so easily deceived, but I suppose that is what's good about you too. He smiled without condescension. So, wait, then she's a boy? Yeah, Sanan knew you were a girl, so he knows that Kyoto is a boy. I rushed to look at Kyoto, and she, or should I say he, smiled maliciously toward me. Yes, a boy. Enough with these pleasantries. Just like Koto, I've come to get you. Oh, well, that was a quick change. Hey, he cut his hair really fast, too. I mean to say that I am your twin brother. In a flash, Kyoto's appearance had shifted to that of a man's. When people told you we looked alike, didn't that set off any bells? I just ignored those. I, on the other hand, was ecstatic to see you, as if the decade without had suddenly vanished. True, our face and physical attributes resembled one another, but I still couldn't believe it. Wait, how do I know this is for real, Father?
Yes, it is true. All of it. Boy, show her the kodachi that I've given you. This is physical proof of the lineage from which you descend, my child. The Yukimura clan, a demon clan.
And this is my kodachi, Daitsuren. Take a good look. It's paired with Shotsuren, the kodachi you hold. These two swords have been handed down each generation of Yukimura. This proves that I am a member of the Yukimura clan and your brother. So, now that you're up to speed, doesn't it seem a little cruel for Sanan to call me a rat? I mean, if I'm a rat, then he's even lower than that considering he's spoiling the reunion of a brother and sister. Oh, whoops. Guess I shouldn't waste my time. I mean, since he's a fake after all, huh? Kyoto attempted to provoke Sanan with his vicious words, but Sanan was prepared. Since your appearance was so similar to Yukimura's, I had a hunch the two of you were related, but I never expected her to have an older brother. So, my comment about the rat got under your skin, did it? So your response is to call me a fake. Pardon me for this, but being a fury isn't something which I am ashamed. Quite the contrary. Actually, I'm rather proud of it. Stop with these charades. Huh, that's right. When it came to snide remarks, no one was more skilled in this than Sanan. Are we having a battle of words here? And it seemed the more Kaoru grew agitated, the more calm Sanan became. With cold eyes, he glared at my father. So, now that I have you before me, Kodo, I would like to ask you something.
And what would that be?
5 years ago, why had you dropped everything and left the Shinsengumi without a word? Father stroked his chin for a second, offering his answer at his own pace.
Quite simple, really. Since the road of my experiments had ended with the Shinsengumi, I had expanded my ambitions. See, there were many folk out of the West, more willing to give me money to fund my experiments, so I went there.
So in other words, you sold us out, and we were nothing but test subjects to you.
In other words, the shogunate only looked at the Roshigumi as test fodder for the Fury experiment. That's all.
The indifference in my father's voice was unbelievably frustrating. He showed no remorse. What? That cannot be excused. How could you ever think that was okay?
Whether you like it or not, you're all just a bunch of disposable ronin. I did the world a favor by experimenting on you all.
Oh god, my father's such a dick. But okay, we're gonna end the video there. I'm so happy to actually be doing Sanan stuff now. It's not just little bits of Sanan interspersed here and there. We're actually on his route, and most of this, we should actually have stuff to do with him from here to the end of the game, which is probably not going to be very far, because I think I've actually made all the choices. But we'll see how many episodes we have left now. Hope to see you for those, see just how far it goes. Or I'd love to see you in some of my other videos. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.